Good evening and welcome to the City of Oxnard Planning Commission regular meeting for Thursday, May 5th, 2022. We are now starting at 6:01. A quick housekeeping item, as shown on the agenda and online, please email all written public comments to planning@oxnard.org. Those wishing to speak during the meeting may do so in person or virtually. For in-person speakers, please submit your speaker card to the commission secretary. For virtual speakers, please view the bottom of your screen for the call-in number, meeting ID, and passcode. You may also submit your request to speak by visiting oxnard.org/city-meetings by 3 p.m. the day of the meeting. During the meeting, a 3-minute opportunity will be given for additional members to participate. Because the meeting is electronic, all votes will be done by roll call. At this time, we'll now move to our commission secretary to establish our quorum.
Chair Chavez,
Here?
Vice Chair Awejo,
Here.
Commissioner Connolly,
Here.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
Here.
Commissioner Meyer,
Here.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Here.
Commissioner Nash is absent, and we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. At this time, we'll move to our next item, which is our Pledge of Allegiance. Vice Chair, would you mind leading us?
Yes.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And with that, we'll go ahead and proceed to our next item, which is public comments for items not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to address the Planning Commission regarding any item not on the agenda, but within the subject matter's jurisdiction of the commission may do so at this time. However, the commission cannot take any action on items presented during public comments and will be referred to the commission secretary. All public comment speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. Madam Secretary, just to confirm, we did not have anyone sign up for this item?
No, we don't have one, but is Pat Brown on this item? I see her.
I just see for all 3 of them are for F.
Okay, then we don't have anything for this item.
Okay, so at this time, we'll go ahead and take our 3 minutes for any additional members of the public wishing to speak for items not on the agenda. And in the meantime, we'll go ahead and move to item D, cassette agenda, approval of our minutes from our April 7th, 2022 meeting. Real quick, commissioners, because we're not virtual anymore and it's a little bit more challenging of trying to see, when you're wanting to make a motion, just say, as an example, Chavez moves so-and-so seconds. That way we'll just proceed that way. So is there any action for our minutes? Have they been reviewed? Any corrections that are needed? If not, a motion? We have a motion by Arejo and a second by the you're the vice chair, by Commissioner Sanchez. Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, Madam Secretary, can we have a roll call, please?
Vice Chair Awejo,
Aye.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Connolly,
Yes.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
Yes.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Chair Chavez,
Aye.
motion passes.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson or Director Idomitis, is there any announcements before we move further into our agenda that the commission needs to be aware of?
Chair Chavez, so we did receive one comment letter on item F1, which has been distributed to the commissioners, and there's a copy that is available for the public at the table up front. And the item will also be posted on the website on the agenda for this item tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Commissioner Secretary?
We have no new speakers.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move to our ex parte declarations for public hearing. Vice Chair Rejo.
None, Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Connolly.
None, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
None, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Meyer.
None, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sanchez.
None, thank you.
Thank you, and none for myself. So with that, we'll go ahead and proceed to our only public hearing item, item F1. Project name is the Lockwood 2 Senior Apartments Planning and Zoning Permit number 21-500-10, Special Use Permit, Affordable Housing, Discretionary Additive Zone, and 21-535-06 Density Bonus Permit. This is going to be located at 2001 Outlet Center Drive. A request for a special use permit for the construction of 168 units, 100% affordable, active senior apartment project for individuals who are 62 years of age or older with associated site improvements on the approximate 3.08 acre site and adjacent infrastructure improvements off-site located at 2001 Outlet Center Drive within the Business Research Park land use designation and Business Research Park affordable housing zone district and developed under the affordable housing. This is the sizes between 494 and 843 square feet, a community center, on-site management office, media center, and lounge. Additional on-site amenities include outdoor recreational areas for residents and pet amenities. Project is also includes a request for ministerial approval of a density bonus permit to allow for an 80% density bonus increase for the maximum number of units from 93 to 168 units, and to waive, reduce, or modify 4 development standards related to open space requirements, balcony size and number, front yard setback, and bedroom location, and apply parking reductions per state regulations. This is filed by Mark Ross of Sun Village LLC on behalf of Sunbelt Enterprises. Our city staff person is Randy Baez, Associate Planner. Recommendation for the Planning Commission is to find the project to be categorically exempt from environmental review pursuant to the CEQA guidelines, section 15332, infill development projects, and adopt a resolution 2022-XX approving planning and zoning permit numbers 21-500-10 special use permit and 21-535-06 density bonus, subject to certain findings and conditions. As a reminder to my fellow commissioners and the public, a pre-recorded presentation is available on the city's YouTube channel in accordance with Measure M. We'll now go to our city staff if they have any additional comments on this item.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. As Mr. Pearson mentioned, we did receive an email shortly before the hearing that has been distributed to you all. Myself and the applicant are here for any additional questions that you guys may have.
Thank you. Is there any presentation from the applicant team?
Yes, there is.
So Commission, if there's no objection, we'll listen to the applicant's presentation and then we'll move into questions. Seeing and hearing none, we'll go to our applicant team.
Good evening, Chair Chavez and members of the Planning Commission. And my name is Tom Cohen. I'm a partner in SVM LLC. And this is phase 2 of our project at the Lockwood site. We were grateful for your approval on December 16th for Lockwood 1. Lockwood 2 is a repeat 100% senior, 100% affordable project to the community. We think it's beautiful. Our project architect is here to answer any questions that you may have. I do want to extend our thanks to the planning team, Randy, Joe, Vito, also to Ty in the Public Works Office. We've had a great relationship with city staff and we're grateful for that. My partner, Mark, has a brief overview PowerPoint that we wanted to share with you, but we'll keep it short and simple and respond to any questions that you might have. Thank you.
I thank you all for having us here. We look forward to working with you more in the future as well. This is the site as it exists today. It's vacant land. You just- oh. Yeah. Okay, next slide. This is, that's Lockwood 1 that, as Tom mentioned, was approved last December. Next slide. That represents Lockwood 2, which is directly, obviously, to the west. The projects are interactive. There's green belt around both and between the properties for both the residents and public access. Next slide. Just some views of the building. This is the entrance. It's oriented towards southeast on Lockwood. The office space is down below, amenity space up on the top floor, and view decks as well. Next slide. Just another view of the site. Next slide. That is the east elevation of the property. Next slide. That's the site plan for the ground floor. You can see the open space, pool, green belt areas, and all multiple activity areas within that center courtyard. And you can see the path around the project and how it ties in to the project to the east. Next slide. As you're aware, this was part of the housing element and identified as a potential housing site. Next slide. Highly amenitized, as you mentioned in the description, multiple spaces throughout the building with all kinds of activities. Next slide. It's a very active senior project. Our operators Vintage Housing provide multiple services and many activities for the residents. Next slide. As you're aware, it's close to medical, entertainment, and retail spaces, most of it within 2 miles of the property. Next slide. That map just showing the proximity to the neighboring activity areas. Next slide. And we're within 1/4 mile to the nearest transit stop. And that's real simple outline of the project. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Rosal, I just had a quick question. Because we just received this letters, would it be appropriate to take a quick 5-minute break to review it before moving into questions, or should we try to review the letters later?
My recommendation would be if the carpenters are speaking, they could address the issues which are raised there. This is a standard letter that the Planning Commission has received multiple times before. So it is seeking for this property to use union labor. So that is something that the Planning Commission is very familiar with based on discussions with the River Park project as well as other projects. So I would ask, Dee, could you indicate who is speaking so far? That may be the best way to take public comment, see if they make the presentation, then we can determine if there's a need for additional time to review the letter. But once again, this is a standard form letter that has been generated for a number of other projects that have come before you already.
Okay. We have Jeff Mason and then Pedro Morales. It's in connections to the letter, correct? Yeah. Okay, so then we'll just go ahead and move to any questions from the commission that they may have for either the applicant team or for city staff. Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair. I had a couple of questions for both the applicant and for the staff. I'll just go in the order of the staff report package that was given to us. So it's going to be back and forth. The first to the applicant, how was the calculation done of the 168 units? I know that it's not required, but I just wanted to know how the number of units was calculated, if any, or was it just the most number of parking that could be done outside of the building?
Yeah, under the AHD overlay, it allows up to 30 units per acre. So we simply multiplied the acreage times 30, and that gave us a base density of, I believe, 93 units. Under the state density bonus law, with 100% affordable projects, we're entitled to an 80% density bonus. And that number was, what's the number? The math, I need help. 70 something, 75, I think. And so that's how we got to, arrived at 168. And the parking that's provided on site is what the site could yield after we factored in the number of units. Under state density bonus, we weren't required to provide any parking, but we know that that doesn't make sense. While our folks will be seniors, they still drive and need a place to park their cars. So we've tried to do better than one per unit. Does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Mostly, thank you very much. My second question again for the applicant, what costs, if any, could be foreseen if some parking is eliminated instead of the units to increase either the internal or the external green space?
Maybe this is better for Mark Pettit. Did you hear the question? I didn't. I'm sorry, we'd ask you to repeat again, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. What costs, if any, could be foreseen if parking instead of units is eliminated to increase green space, whether internal or external green space, specifically referring on page 11 of 14 for my fellow commissioners?
I'll attempt to answer that. My name is Mark Pettit. I'm with Lauterbach and Associates Architects. If any of the parking spaces were removed to provide green space, depending on what that green space is, the costs would be comparable with the pavement. If you have a little bit more information on what you're looking for as far as green space, I can maybe give you a little bit better answer. But if it's just seating areas, that type of thing, it would be comparable with the cost of the parking.
Okay, thank you very much.
Right.
My next is for the staff. What would be the process or procedure to move or allocate these residences to the East Village, just in terms of administration? Right now, it's not allocated to a ville or a neighborhood. I just want to know in the future, what would that process be? Or would it become its own neighborhood?
I'm sorry, Chair Arejo, could you repeat that one more time?
Right now, this unit is not, or this project is not located in a specified neighborhood. What would be the process of merging it with the East Village, or having its own neighborhood, if you know the process with the city? If you don't know, I just appreciate a follow-up at a later time, since it's not time sensitive.
I'll be happy to provide a brief overview. The neighborhoods are as indicated in our general plan. So to the extent that this particular area has residential component, then the general plan will need to be amended to either merge it with an adjoining neighborhood or create its own. But until such time as this is an inhabited area, it would not be appropriate to include it within one of the neighborhoods. But this is something that clearly can occur at a point in the future.
Thank you for Ms. Roselle. Just a couple more questions. For both the staff and the applicant, in regards to the fire hydrant 150-foot coverage, referring to condition of approval number 173 and the first page of attachment B, it appears that not all of the building is being covered by the 150-foot radius. Is there some leeway or gray area, even though most of the building is covered?
Yes, 150-foot radius is the minimum. Since the building is fire sprinklered and has all the ratings, it can go up to 250 feet. So we just showed the 150 feet.
Thank you for that clarification. And I think the last I have is in regards to condition of approval 255. What's the application process after the preferences are gone through, is it application, first in, first out, lottery, or some combination?
I do not know the answer to that question right now, but I can follow up with the housing department and give you all a follow-up answer at a later time.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all my questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions from the commission? Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. So I guess a question for the city, I guess, first would be for our planner, Mr. Bias. As far as preference for tenants, is there an initial opportunity for Oxnard residents to have first rights or first opportunity?
Yes, that is correct. And that's established by the housing department, but it does start with households that live and work in the city of Oxnard. And then after that would be households that live or work within Oxnard.
Great, thank you. And so the range, as I was seeing, was 50 to 60% of the median income for the city of Oxnard specifically, or the county of Ventura, or?
The
County.
affordability is based upon the county. So it's not just the median income in the city, but it's based on county numbers.
Got it. Okay. And so anybody below that line receives the same treatment as far as qualifying for an affordable unit versus there being very low, moderate as far as the affordability of the units.
That's correct. It's at that level or below.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. That's all my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Any additional questions? All right, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for this item. I will be calling the speakers in the order that the cards were received. And the first one is Miss Pat Brown. Pat? Yes, ma'am.
Been riding in old World War II airplanes too many years, 40 years now, every summer, Terrace shows. About 15 or 20 a summer, so. And that's in both directions, out and in. So my ears have about had it. It was bad enough growing up on the farm with all the noise from there, but this just takes the cake. The problem is, I live in the Royal Palms Mobile Home Park now, which is a mobile home park here in downtown Oxnard, the only one in downtown Oxnard. And when I moved in there with my husband 28 years ago, I was too young to live there because you had to be 52 to get in. And so I was able to live there with my husband for about 3 or 4 years until I turned old enough to be a senior. So they let me stay there. Already I was doing the newsletter every month and all kinds of stuff. And everybody thought I looked so young for my age. So anyway, I lived in a whole bunch of apartment buildings in San Francisco during the course of a year. We'd move into one and we'd stay there for a month or two, and then we'd find something else we liked, and so we'd move to that one. And so we moved all over the place in downtown San Francisco. That was before I got married. I really know more about what it's like to live in these kinds of places than probably most of you do. And I know I'm older than all of you because I'm going to be 81 here shortly. But I still have all the gumption and the energy that I had when I was 40. So the doctors just shake their heads and can't figure this one out. What I'm concerned about is I like the low income, that part of it I like. The density bonus permit is the part to me that is just nothing but trouble. Because what you end up doing is, well, here's 93 units and then 168. What you end up with is some of them with no real bedroom, just a drop-down bed out of the closet, which is, I experienced that too for a few months. And then you have a little kitchen and a bathroom and a closet. The bathroom is like a closet. The shower is like a closet. And there you are. Well, that's fine if you're 20 or 18 years old. But as you get older, you just, it's claustrophobic. And I can just see this being a problem because in all of the family apartment buildings that I've lived in here in Southern California, which is a whole bunch of them because we move almost every year, we find another new one to move to. You've got to
Thank
have
you,
enough
Pat.
parking for their cars because I'm still going to be driving.
Thank you, Pat.
And these people are going to have cars, and every bedroom needs to have at least one car parking space for each bedroom, at least one.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Brown. We'll go to our next speaker, Jeff Mason.
Hi, Jeff Manson. Good Uncle Charlie. My name's Jeff Manson. I'll take my 3 minutes. I appreciate your time tonight. I wrote a little bit and then I'll wing the rest. My name is Jeff Manson. I'm a local resident. I'm also a voter. I also happen to be a highly trained local carpenter. Okay. Today, I woke up at 4:30 in the morning. I drove over 90 miles, spending 3 hours in the car to work an 8-hour shift. That's time away from my kids, time away from my wife, a quarter tank of gas up into the air, wear and tear on my car, wear and tear on the roads. Okay, it's terrible that this project does not have a local hire agreement. Local cities right around us, right here in this area, are waking up and they're doing this for their communities. They're doing it for people like me that live there. Why are they doing it? They're doing it so that I can spend time with my kids. Right now, my kids are at home playing basketball on the street. Okay. And they know that I'm here being politically active to make hopefully the ability for me to be home with them more. I sacrifice my time here with you guys so that you can hear my voice. I'm hearing about fire hydrants, parking spaces, and things like that. And that's all important. I understand that. But I invite this board to broaden your viewpoint. Okay, the way we're doing things needs to change. These specifics are important, but they're not as important as where does your workforce come from? Okay, how many hours is their workforce sacrificing from their families? How many hours are being stolen from children and fathers and husbands and wives and grandparents? There's going to be people that live in these buildings. Are their sons and daughters going to have time away from their commute to go visit them? We need to open up our minds, and we need to pay attention to building local families. This is about more than a job. This is about my ability to raise my kids. This is about keeping money here to reinvest in our community. This is about me getting my paycheck and being able to spend it here. This is about me being able to go to my kids' baseball games, my daughter's volleyball games, that kind of stuff. I am just one voice, but I am politically active in a local group that has over 1,000 members just here locally. That group all have wives and families. That one voice, I may be quiet here tonight, but those 5,000 voices plus in the upcoming elections, we're unified. And we want the ability to work local. Thank you. My name is Jeff Manson.
Thank you, Mr. Manson, for your comments. Our next speaker is Pedro Morales.
Good evening, council members, fellow residents and applicant. My My name is Pedro Morales. I am a local carpenter from Local 805. I'm also the chair of the Political Action Committee with my local. We keep a strong interest in well-ordered land and use planning, and we also address environmental impacts of new development projects. Currently, there are many projects under construction right here in Oxnard itself, and we do have 1,900 local members within. The community benefits from local carpenters because when we are hired locally, our income has a positive economic impact. I'd love to see the Lockwood senior apartments. Who knows? I might be one of them, a resident eventually later on in my life. But I also would like to be the one to build it. We asked the applicant to provide additional community benefits such as requiring local hire and use of a skilled and trained workforce to build a project. We asked to provide local career opportunities for transitioning veterans, assistant justice involved individuals, and to aid underrepresented residents as well. We strongly urge to deny this project until worker protection, community benefits, and area standards for carpenter craft works are met. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morales, for your comments. Madam Secretary, did we have any additional speakers?
No, we don't.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take 3 minutes to allow any additional members of the public that wish to speak on this item to do so, either virtually or in person. If you're participating virtually, you can view the bottom of the screen for the call-in ID, meeting ID, and as well as the passcode. Commissioners, any additional questions? Commissioner Sanchez.
Thank you. Just question about the security camera system, security plan, on-site security. When it's built, that area still will not be filled up, to capacity just yet. So will there be enough security during that time in that neighborhood? Or is there some thought of maybe having patrols, private patrols, police, anything like that once it starts being built?
Well, in terms of the security system, we have met all the standards that the police department has requested. There will be on-site staff 24 hours a day. And it's an operational question, which will be addressed obviously in a couple of years when the project's finished. But it's our understanding that we would have patrol if needed as the projects fill up.
From a security firm or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions from the commission? Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
I had a question referencing Lockwood 1, and I know it's been approved, but was there any sort of local hire or community workforce agreement with Lockwood 1? I remember vaguely we discussed it when you all came before us. I remember it was late in the evening. I remember there was public comment about it as well. And so was just curious where Lockwood 1 ended up.
Sure. Thank you for your question. We had reached out and had some attempts to talk with, I believe his name was Armando and another gentleman. And we had those conversations actually leading up to the hearing and then post-hearing. And my last effort to reach him had gone unanswered. I'm not sure why, but we're open to sitting down and talking with the carpenters to talk about local hire options and how that's all going to work. Lockwood 1 is now in the construction drawing phase. Mr. Pettit can tell you more about that. So we're still quite a ways away, but there's still a lot to talk about. So we're happy to sit down with them and have a conversation. We don't know what that ultimately looks like, but we're not opposed to that at all.
No, absolutely. I know it's been an ongoing conversation for this commission, even for city council. I think at times city council has negotiated in real time on projects. And so I know, Mr. Rosell, that we had asked also for some, wasn't necessarily a study, but I know a request, and I know that city council has also discussed it. Could you let us know where that's at? I know it's irrelevant or independent of this project, but nonetheless, it's still the topic, before us.
Yes, as you recall, for the River Park project, that was something that the planning commission could consider because there was a development agreement that had to be amended in order to allow the much higher density that was proposed. Unless there's a development agreement that's included as part of the project, the planning commission does not have the jurisdiction to impose either a project labor agreement, a local hire requirement. That is something that is within the jurisdiction of the city council to impose. So that is not something that you could impose tonight. I believe before there was a request by the planning commission for the city council to consider project labor agreements as a possibility. I know that was transmitted up to the council and to city management. It has not been scheduled for a meeting yet, is my understanding.
It's in the queue.
It is in the queue
Yeah.
along with a few other.
No, and I
projects.
appreciate that because I think part of it is informing or reminding the public and public education. So certainly thank you for that.
Any additional questions? I actually have a couple. Well, Madam Secretary, did we have any additional speakers?
No, we don't.
Thank you. For the applicant team, just, this may seem very off topic, but I think it kind of ties in very nicely. What is the mission of this company?
Well, our first two examples are to provide housing for obviously seniors, and we have the opportunity to work with an operator who can secure tax credits to do an all affordable project. So, but we also have profit in mind too. We're not a nonprofit. So you'll see other projects that we're intending to work on here in your city where it may not be 100% affordable, but it'll be mixed income. But we're about housing and housing the people that need housing. You've got 8,000 jobs out there at Amazon and the whole Sakioka ranch. Eventually, you're going to bring people to your community. They're going to need housing. So we want to build high quality product that has tons of amenities so that it's a livable, sustainable community. So that's really what we're all about.
And what is the vision? Is the vision the same as the mission?
I'm going to say yes, but we're a young company. This is our second project as a development team, and my partner Mark has been doing it for 30 years. I've been representing the development community for 30 years as well, but this is the first time I've actually gotten involved in a project that I can call my own. And so for me, the mission and the vision actually come together.
I appreciate that. And obviously there's a reason why I asked that, and I'll leave those comments for deliberation. But the next question was, Commissioner Dr. Lopez had asked you in regards to Lockwood 1, if the discussion has moved forward. Now, you talked about that you're more than willing to sit with them, but after Lockwood 1, what ended up happening with the labor agreements?
We don't have a labor agreement, and we left the door open for conversation, but my last communication went unanswered. So these gentlemen that are here tonight that are testifying, I'm happy to give them my card, and we can set up a time to meet, and we'll see if we can find some common ground that works.
Okay. Ms. Brown brought up a comment in regards to the square footages of the units. And it kind of made me spark not an idea, but a questions in regards to the amenities within the units itself. Although these are active seniors, I'm curious if there's any safety precautions put in place as far as shower railings, bathroom railings, any of
gonna-
those amenities in the units?
I'm going to turn that over to Mark Pettit.
Because we have an elevator that accesses all the floors, every single unit in the building has the ability to accommodate handicapped people. We have a minimum of 10% of the units day one occupied, ready for occupation, that are set with grab rails, the counters lowered, wheelchair accessibility, books and books of different things that we've incorporated. We have on all of the units, like I said, the ability to convert them. So we have backing in the walls so that we can add grab bars. All the counters are able to be lowered, or the front faces are able to come off and have wheelchair accessible. We have certain percentage with the visual and audio for blind and deaf residents. All of the amenities are all accessible to people in wheelchair or other disabilities. We have more than enough of compliant ADA parking spaces. We have no lips or any type of threshold that's more than 1/2 of an inch. It's extensive. Even our pool will have a lift that will be able to accommodate people with disabilities. I could talk for hours and hours about it, but it's very extensive. And our units are not small. We do have a variety of different sizes, but all of the units will have an ADA compliant kitchen, bathroom, access throughout.
I appreciate that. I'm curious in regards to, oh man, just drew a blank after all that information that came at me.
Sorry about that.
No, it's great information and it is helpful, but I'm also thinking about something else and it's not coming out.
I did want to mention, in addition to the amenities, we do have a dog walk or dog park area for 2 different sizes of dogs, and all of that is ADA compatible too. And as is the grooming area that we have, which is part of Lockwood 1, but people in Lockwood 2 are able to use it. That's all ADA accessible also.
Oh, yes, I just got it. And thank you for that additional information. Although that this is an active senior living, is there an on-site manager
Yes,
for both properties?
yes.
And now, again, 62, it's not old, it's the new 40. But is there any emergency call, like buttons inside the rooms in the event of an accident, a fall, or anything like that?
No, this isn't a senior living. That's an additional level of care and service. These are just senior apartments.
Okay. And this, maybe I missed it, but the 2 properties, they're not gated communities. These are technically open communities, correct?
The property is able to be accessed, the surrounds. The buildings themselves are all secured, cameras, security access. So no one is able to get into the building, with the exception of during normal operating hours, to come in the main lobby area, but they're all completely secured. We were talking the other day, we have well over 100 cameras on each building. So it's extensive.
Okay, great. And I hope that once the properties come online, that you push public transit as much as possible, especially since there's a lot of routes that go around this area.
Not only that, but we have an area designated in the lobby for all the transportation routes throughout the city.
Awesome. Any additional questions from the
Just
commission?
One other comment on that.
Yes.
From an operating standpoint, it's not in-house, but they make arrangements for third-party transit as well. And Vintage, who's the operator of our projects, operates senior affordable housing in multiple states on the West Coast. So they're up in Washington, Oregon, and all around California. So they're very adept in the service side of this operation.
Now you said third party, like there will be a shuttle
Yeah,
van
they'll
on
arrange, yeah,
site?
yeah, if they'll arrange for it if needed. So,
Okay,
so that's one of the services that are provided to the residents.
in addition to what the public already receives through
Yeah.
access?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, cool. Any additional questions? Vice Chair Raul.
Thank you, Chair. My questions go to Mr. Rozell. In regards to the letter package that the Planning Commission received, in your opinion, is it only talking about the topic of labor agreements? Since, at least for me, I haven't had a chance to review the entire thing.
This is, as I mentioned before, this is a standard letter which the Carpenters outside legal counsel has presented to the city at least a half a dozen times. In summary, they of course are seeking that the operator provide a local hire. They also make claims that we disagree with from a legal standpoint, that the factor that we do not require local hire has an environmental impact. So we believe that is not the case. And they go through a analysis that is not specific to this project, but they have utilized it for a number of other projects that have come before the city. So it is something which you have seen before. So this is not something that is new. They literally, based on my quick review of this before tonight's meeting, the only change that I could ascertain was the ray line on making this Lockwood 2 and adding Randy Baez, associate planner at the top. So this is a boilerplate document that has been presented before, but there's nothing in this document that would preclude the Planning Commission from approving the project tonight, if that is your desire to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Rozell. My last, if the Planning Commission approves this, it looks like it's not appealable to the City Council.
It is,
Okay.
because there is a special use permit, which if they, any interested party that has participated tonight wishes to file an appeal with the City Council, they can do so. Joe, I believe it's within 18 days. They would have to file an appeal if that's the desire to do so.
Yes, that is correct.
So it's only the SUP that's appealable, not the density bonus, correct? Or is both, because there are two permits, or there's the permit and the density bonus, or it really doesn't matter because it's all kind of contained in one?
So Commissioner Arroyo or Vice Chair Arroyo, yeah, so it is the special use permit that is appealable. However, that is one project, the density bonus and the SUP. So ultimately, the entire or both permits would go to City Council if appealed.
Okay. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
Any additional questions from the commission? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move into deliberations on this item. Any comments from the commission? Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
I'll go just general notes that I had made. I think the project certainly moves the needle in terms of the housing stock and the housing need. I love the fact that it's 100% affordable and needed for senior and even projected demographic and senior changes, in the next decade and ahead. I love that there's a housing variety with the diversity of the units, the studios, the 1 bedrooms and the 2 bedrooms, as well as the access to the freeway, your many medical providers along Gonzalez there, as well as the many amenities you mentioned, and even a pool. I know that some of the more recent projects we've seen in the past year who also do a great job of utilizing the space. Some other projects that we've had come before us have also looked at charging stations, for example, for electric vehicles, having those on site, just simply something that we're all going to be moving towards. I think there may be some grants available. I'm seeing a thumbs up from folks over there with the applicant team. But I was going to mention, as well as the charging stations, I think some of the more recent projects that we've seen in the past year have also looked at other forms of alternative transportation or shared, what is it called? The shared vehicle, ride shares or whatnot. And so I think there's a lot more tremendous opportunity to really provide so much more for the residents that you will eventually be serving. In terms of the letter that we received, I know that it's not going to be a surprise, I think, to staff, to the people from the public that are here, or even perhaps to you, the applicant team. But I think that in general, I don't want to speak for the entire commission, but what I've seen on my time on the commission is that we are very much pro or friends of labor, pro trying to provide opportunities for our local residents for many reasons. I really take to heart what Mr. Mason shared the story. In another part of my life also had a 90-plus-minute commute. It's draining, it's exhausting, it does weigh heavily on our residents and families and whatnot. So I hope that one way for the applicant team, I think the staff clarified that, it's outside of our jurisdiction to be able to deny a project on those grounds, but nonetheless, there is the opportunity for you all to appeal, as many other folks have before them. My hope would be that there seems to be some interest, in reestablishing a conversation, and hope that you all are able to maybe move towards, again, that resolution, that sweet spot before an appeal is necessary. But there's so much that I do like about the project, and so thank you for continuing to expand your own portfolio. The work that you're doing in our community, very much needed, and it's certainly a very impressive and needed project. So I am myself prepared to support, and just thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner Dr. Lopez. Any additional comments? I'll just make a couple of comments real quick. During my line of question, I asked what was the mission and the vision of the company. And I believe that speaks volumes for a business as to what their vision, what their mission is. Since being on this commission, this is actually my last year on this commission, and I technically term out. I have been a strong advocate for hiring local. And the reason for that is because in my previous job that I just left back in February, I was commuting to the Valley 5 to even 7 days a week. Before that, I was even commuting to downtown LA 5 to 7 times a week. I have a 4-year-old and I have a 6-year-old. In my new job now, I have so much more time to be able to be with them. Of course, I took a pay cut as a result of it, but for me, it was more important to be with my family. The issue that I have oftentimes is that outside people come into our community to make a quick buck and don't really care too much about the people that live here daily. Now, of course, people can go ahead and argue saying that those comments sound like I'm anti-development, and that's far from the truth. I support responsible development. I support development that supports the community that they want to be part of. I continue to push the fact that labor needs to be local. We have skilled workforce right here in our own backyard. But yet we've heard time and time, the city council has heard it time and time, that people are coming from Orange County, from LA, from San Bernardino, from Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, all over the place. The carpenters are only one group of the labor workforce in Ventura County, and that's over 2,000 members right there. Mr. Manson, I completely agree with your comments. There are multiple members from our community. There's even multiple members from my previous job that spends more time at work than with their own families. Their childs, their wives, their husbands, they're living their lives without you there. I experienced that for the past 10 years of my kids, for the past 6 years, my daughter ultimately growing up without me. I would leave early in the morning when it was dark and get home when it was dark. My son, for the past 4 years, that's what it was. And after hearing Commissioner Dr. Lopez, I do remember the meeting that Lockwood 1 came before us. That was actually one of our longer meetings, because that was the same meeting that River Park was there. And then we had that second project, and we squeezed you guys in at the end. This was like already, what, midnight when we heard that? I was barely functioning. And I do recall my comments. You had 2 members from the local labor groups call in to support your project. Don't mess it up. And those are going to be my same comments again. The project is nice. I think it's well designed. The interior, the exterior amenities, I think it makes me wish I was 62 already. Although I feel 62, but I'm not. But definitely, they're great amenities for an active senior. And when we know in Ventura County, the average 1-bedroom apartment for a regular person is averaging around what, 2,000, right? 221. The city of Ventura is a lot higher than we are. But to be able to have an active senior living arrangement that is smack down in the middle of the most ideal place, where it has shopping, it has recreational, it has those medical offices, as mentioned by Commissioner Dr. Lopez, and the freeway access. You jump in and out of the freeway very easily. So my final comment would be, reach out to the labor. If it's not the carpenters, there's someone else. But we have the skilled workforce here. And in regards to the VMT, look, we received this packet minutes before our meeting. No one has time to go through that 2 minutes before. But one thing that I know as a transportation commissioner, as a person that sits on the county's Climate Emergency Council, is that VMT and the greenhouse gas emissions, the biggest contributor is transportation industry. So if we're having people that are coming from outside of the county, driving more than an hour to get here, we're doing something wrong. Especially when we have our own workforce driving outside of our county an hour or more to get to work. I made the comments before, over the years that I've been here. I want to see our money stay here and invest in our community. We have the largest youth population in the county. We are the largest city, and the recreational space and activities that we have in the county should be a lot better than it is right now. But that requires investment. So like Commissioner Dr. Lopez, I can support this, but I do hope that you really take to heart those young parents that have to drive so far. I understand affordable housing, it's great. Housing market, it's much needed. But the one thing that you said that kind of twerked me was, you have to make money off the project. But let's just hope that that doesn't conflict with your mission and your vision. Those are my comments. Any additional comments from the commission? Commissioner Connolly.
just quickly, I'm speaking in support of this project, but what really excited me that I forgot to mention earlier was I hope this helps aid in our housing affordability here in town, even if just 20% of those people sell or homeowners and sell their home. That's what, like 36 more homes that could be available for people in Oxnard, people that have outgrown their homes, maybe don't want to live in two-story anymore. Maybe they're one single person that doesn't need a 4-bedroom home anymore, because that's what we need more of, is more housing. You guys are doing a good job by targeting a specific community, but that's going to trickle down to help a lot of people, hopefully. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer, followed by Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd like to some degree, echo the comments of Commissioner Dr. Lopez and Chair Chavez. I know the challenges, and I can appreciate your eloquent explanation and discussion of the challenges, Mr. Manson. I worked for a year traveling from Oxnard to Santa Barbara, and I tried to make it as environmentally friendly, affordable as possible. Drive to Ventura so I could bring a bike with me to take on the Vista bus that would take me close enough to where I could bike to my work, and just try to make it happen. And it's challenging. And I was fortunate, I think, in a lot of ways that I even had that option. And now I'm in a situation where it's 6 or 7 minutes drive, 2 miles from my home to my work. And I feel extremely blessed for that. And I think the points you made about the multiplicative effects of hiring local, and that the money that is spent by the workers then is reinvested more into the community than if it was people who live elsewhere, and that supports local businesses, and on it goes. So those are great points. It's not actually the first time that I'd heard for the applicant from another developer that there was trouble with communication with the union. And so I'm curious about that, because it seems unusual, because there's a lot of passion, there's a lot of interest from union representatives to have local hire. And then when there's like a communication breakdown, and it just confuses me. Why wouldn't there be communication? What was the sticking point? So yeah, I hope that we learn more about the process, and I hope we hear about the various unions that represent the carpenters. I know 805, is it 805 carpenters also? Okay. So because I think it's important for the public to have the full story about where we went from a commitment to where it's like, well, the door's open, but there's nothing happening. That's confusing. So all that said, I hope that can work out. I definitely see the value in the project, and it's well designed and needed. So I'm prepared to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair Chavez. I'm speaking in support of the recommendation by staff. Simply, we need affordable and senior level units. In addition, this location is great. I speak a lot about mixed use, and in the general area, it's like a mixed use, because it's not going to increase any congestion because there is no residence there. So in terms of the traffic patterns, they're not going to be aggregate on top of each other and leading to anything extreme. And so this location, the units are needed. In regards to the labor agreement, since everyone almost touched upon it, I have to lean on Mr. Rozel's comments that it is in leaning, but in my opinion, I think it's incumbent on the city council to have some type of policy. And I'm glad that the mayor has put it on the future agenda. I don't mind if they make that requirement onto the planning commission, but at this time, in addition with the comments of Ms. Rozel, I don't think that we should be using that as a criteria in regards to approval or denial of this permit. I would say that I would be in support of that if that would be included. Thank you, Chair. Those are my comments or deliberation arguments.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Seeing and hearing none, I'll look for a motion on this item.
Arwaiho moves staff's recommendation to find the project categorically exempt and adopt resolution 2021 XX in regards to permit numbers 21-500-10 and 21-535-06.
Connolly, second.
We have a motion by Vice Chair Rejo, a second by Commissioner Connolly to approve staff's recommendation to find the project to be categorically exempt from environmental review pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act Guidelines, Section 15332, infill development projects, and adopt a resolution 2022 XX approving planning and zoning permit numbers 21-500-10, special use permit, and 21-535-06 density bonus, subject to certain findings and conditions. Is there any comments, deliberations on the motion? Seeing and hearing none. Madam Secretary, if we can have the roll call, please.
Vice Chair Arwaiho,
Aye.
Commissioner Connolly,
Aye.
Commissioner Dr. Lopez,
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Chair Chavez,
Aye.
motion passes.
Thank you. And that concludes that item. Congratulations. And we'll go ahead and go to our next item, which is study sessions and reports. Nothing is listed. Planning Commission business. Commissioners, any business? Commissioner Connolly.
Thank you, Chair. As some of my fellow commissioners know, I spent the last week in Sacramento. I was invited to Legislative Day, housing specific related Legislative Day. So I actually got to see the governor speak to all of us for about 45 minutes, specifically on housing and homelessness. And then had private meetings with Assembly Member Steve Bennett, Assembly Member Jackie Irwin, Senator Monique Limon, all just same addressing the housing crisis, affordability crisis, and all that stuff. So as we were leaving on Friday, we got some really good news. We were asking the senators to support increasing the statewide budget for housing. Currently, the budget line was like 69 million, I believe, and we were asking that budget to be increased to 600 million. 200 million specifically for down payment assistance, and then the other 400 million for housing related projects like Habitat for Humanity and just general housing related projects. So as we were leaving on Friday, we got the green light in the press release that did make the budget. So I can't wait to see how some of those funds trickle down here and help a lot of people. So thank you, Chair.
Great job, Commissioner Connolly. Vice Chair Rejo.
Thank you, Chair. I had the privilege of going to the sports park idea hosted by the city of Oxnard, right next to Pacifica on the corner of Gonzalez and Oxnard. A lot of residents are always asking what's going to be done there because there have been spurts in terms of developing it in one way or another. So that was great just to hear a future, because we do talk about the distance of the parks or any amenities to various projects that are approved by the Planning Commission. I had the opportunity to talk to a couple people from the Senior Commission and the Parks and Services, and it was interesting that actually the Parks and Services Commission would eventually in the future like some type of joint meeting in terms of having some action and from some information in regards to what we think as a body. I don't know what that request will entail, how formal it will be, but I think based on our interaction and our co-meeting with City Council, I think it would just be great to hear from the other commissions, just in general, both personally and professionally. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any additional business? Sorry, Commissioner Meyer.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say that it's refreshing to be in person with you all. This is my first in-person meeting in over 2 years, and first time meeting Commissioner Connolly in person, Vice Chair Arwaiho, and Commissioner Dr. Lopez. So this is a positive, even in as much as I was quite used to our Zoom experience and the benefits that go with that. And just in person, just to welcome our new planning manager, Mr. Pearson. So great to meet you in person as well, and as well, Director Adamitis. So that's all.
And thank you, Commissioner Meyer. I don't know, well, yeah. So, Mr. Rozelle, Commissioner Meyer has brought up a couple meetings back in regards to our start time for our meetings. And I want to be able to be respectful of his request for a future item. Is there a way for us to go about of putting it on for a discussion and then maybe an update of where our bylaws were at? Because we did have those bylaws come before the whole commission. The commission did vote to approve them without any major revisions or additions.
Yes, clearly the planning commission can request that be placed on a future agenda for discussion, and then we can give an update on the process that would need to be taken if the planning commission wishes to change that time. Staff would also at that time give their input and their recommendations on that particular topic as well.
Okay, and an update on the bylaws, where are they at in that process?
The bylaws, and actually I can give a brief discussion, but we can't go into any great
Correct.
detail. The bylaws were being reviewed by the city attorney for a period of time. They are now on my desk. So I will need to move that forward to the city council at a future date. So that will be coming up soon. As with a lot of people at City Hall, and I know in your personal life as well, we have a lot of projects that are going on, but we will definitely get that going here in the near future.
Sounds good. Thank you. So Commissioner Moyer, I did not forget about it. Okay, it's there. But we'll definitely try to get it on a future agenda for a discussion, and I'll speak with Mr. Pearson about that.
Appreciate that, Chair. Thank you for remembering.
I also just wanted to remind everyone that the month of May is Bike Month, or well, I think it's more of a week, but in the public transit industry, we like to make it a whole month. So these are opportunities to visit one of the thousands of miles of bike trails that we have throughout the Southern California region. Metrolink has a great event going on right now that you could win prizes and other things, as well as VCTC also having their bike week that you can win a few Amazon gift cards. Lastly, I want to mention that Metrolink, they're always evolving based off of customers' feedback. One of the things that was introduced last year was their 5-day Flex Pass that allowed individuals to hop aboard any Metrolink train 5 days and had ultimately, it was essentially a day pass for 5 days. Well, the writer said we wanted more than just 5 days. Metrolink obliged, and now it's a 10-day Flex Pass. So if you have the option of taking the train, hop aboard a Metrolink train, because we now have a co-partnership with the Surfliner. So you can jump on either Metrolink or the Surfliner trains to get throughout Ventura County and to LA and back. So, and we also want to recognize our armed forces, as May is also recognized as Armed Forces Month, and all of their sacrifices, past, present, and future individuals that will be serving this country and protecting those values that we oftentimes take for granted. So those will end my comments. If there's no additional comments, seeing and hearing none, we'll go to our community development staff updates. Mr. Pearson or Director Adamitis.
Chair Chavez and commissioners, there's a few items I just would like to highlight. The Portofino Place project, which you guys reviewed at the end of, I believe, last year, that has gone before the city council, that went before city council on October 19th. where it was approved, and then most recently went back on May 3rd for its second reading. So that project is now approved, and so they're moving on to the next steps. Also, the INCO discussed the curb cut policy. I believe we had previously mentioned that had gone to committee. So on May 3rd, or May 4th, sorry, that went before the INCO, so just yesterday, and that was presented by our director, Vito Adamaitis. So he might be able to provide some additional comments on that. And then also, just for you guys' information, our May 19th meeting is going to be canceled. So we will be back here on June 2nd.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. It's a pleasure to be here in person with all of you. I know over time, it's just amazing how quickly time goes by, but it is a pleasure to be here. Just a couple of updates. The month of May, as proclaimed by the City Council on Tuesday, is also Building and Safety Month. And here at the city of Oxnard, I just wanted to share some interesting facts and figures regarding building and safety. So by the end of this fiscal year, ending in June, our staff will have issued an estimated 5,500 building permits. And this represents, by the end of this year, 25,000 inspections conducted by our staff. Those permits have an estimated valuation of $150 million. So that's the valuation, the value of the work done under a permit. It's fairly significant. So it's a very strong economic engine here in the city and in the region. Our staff, who really do a tremendous job at the service center, at the public counter, will have assisted over 6,000 people in person. And when you factor in the COVID restrictions, those numbers take on a significant meaning. And also, we also have an online presence at buildingpermits.org. Staff will have responded to over 7,000 responses via online. So a tremendous job to our building and safety team and our staff in the community development department. Very pleased with all the tremendous work that's going on there. We also have very good progress on the navigation center at 2nd and B. I know there's a lot of interest in that project. We are working very closely with the project team, with Mr. Emilio Ramirez, our housing director, and his staff, as well as our consultant team, our internal team, planning and building. So lots of important work going on there, and we're very pleased to see some significant progress in that project. And hopefully by the end of this month, we will have some additional important updates to share with all of you. So also Central Terrace, that project is in plan check, and we're working very closely again with Emilio Ramirez and his team and the project team to move that project forward. They are in, I believe, the second round of plan checks. So we are closely monitoring these projects as they come through our review process. So we're very pleased to see that. And we're also looking forward to the leadership program on May 20th, where Mr. Pearson and I will be present to conduct a presentation. And possibly, I think we're also doing a short or a long or a short walking tour. So we will definitely include that, and really looking forward to it. And it's just great to see all the wonderful things happening here in the city of Oxnard and to be a part of it with our great team. And that concludes my remarks.
Thank you, Director Adamaitis. And I can say from the planning team for the Oxnard Leadership Program, we are just as excited, and we are already letting our participants know to wear comfortable shoes.
Yes.
So is there any questions for either Mr. Pearson or Director Adamaitis? Commissioner Dr. Lopez.
Are we going to have the option to Zoom in future meetings, or are we completely trying to move away from that for in-person attendance? And the only reason I bring it up is because I did certainly was able to take advantage of a couple meetings when I was traveling for conferences or whatnot to be able to chime in and join the commission to do business like from San Diego or whatnot. So just wanted to see if moving forward that was going to be an option available to commissioners.
Based on the current state of the law, the legislature has not allowed that to occur unless we make the findings under AB 361, which the city council has not made. So we're hopeful that in the future, the legislature will allow that flexibility. I think it's added a lot of good options for participation, both by the commissioners and city council members, as well as the public. But at this point in time, it is not an option for the planning commission to zoom in unless you go through the very cumbersome process in the Brown Act where you would post your hotel room or your home and the public could theoretically come there and join you, which is not something I think most people would want to occur. So until those laws gets changed, we are limited in the process.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
They start opening up the fridge and saying, what do you have going on in here? All right. Is there any additional questions? Seeing and hearing none. Thank you for the update. Since there's no further business before the commission, and if there's no objection to adjournment, we will be adjourning to our next meeting, which is going to be June 2nd, 2022. As always, thank you to our staff for all their hard work. Thank you to the commissioners. Thank you to the public for their participation. Thank you. Good night and stay safe.